y'all. I am sorry. My phone died. All right, I'm going to wait for y'all. So come on back in here. I'm sorry, y'all. My phone died. So come on back in here. I'm going to sit here for a second. Hey, y'all. I'm sorry. My phone died. So come back in here. This is crazy. So we was talking about 2020. And I was saying that, yes, we are back, Booski Boo. My phone died. Just died. That's the devil! Y'all know that's the devil. So we were saying that 2020 has been a rough year, but at the same time, I also feel that 2020 has been, yes, we're back, Mr. Weaver. My phone died. So we on a computer now. So, so we do view 2020 as 2020 has been a rough year, but at the same time, 2020 has also been a year that a lot of us have gone through a spiritual awakening, right? Because like during quarantine and COVID, we had a lot of time to just sit, right? Sit, quiet our mind, quiet our spirits. A lot of us, we couldn't sleep, right? We were up at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. Like I was waking up at like 3:37, 3:38, 4:44, like all the time. Like at certain times I was waking up, and then I started to realize that that was a time where the veil, the spiritual veil, is very thin. So that's a time where God is communicating with a lot of us that are creatives, a lot of us that have giftings and callings and things that we are supposed to do, outstanding things that we're supposed to do. Those are the times that God is communicating to us. What it is that he wants us to know, like ideas, like the idea for the movie, the idea for the book, whatever it is. Like it's a time to pray for healing. It's a time to pray for soul ties to be broken. Soul ties are those connections with people that are very toxic in nature, and we really need to get them out of our spirit. So that's a good time to pray about soul ties and things like that. But anyway, so we're here to talk about narcissists. So I have been 1 year narc free. Yay, go me. So what had happened was, first and foremost, we feel as though, I want to preface this and say, hey everybody who's just coming in the room. My phone died. So I can't, I don't think I can see y'all. So y'all gotta heart me up or whatever. So yeah, so we talking about narcs because I am celebrating my 1 year being narcissist free. Um, and basically I feel as though our relationships are meant to help us grow. Our relationships are meant to help us evolve, right? So um we don't regret anything, right? We don't regret anything, and we don't feel as if anything was a waste of time, because everything that we've gone through has tied in. Hey, Mr. Hurd. Everything that we have gone through ties into something else for our higher good or our higher purpose, right? So I feel as though there are three types of relationships. There is karmic relationships, there are soulmate relationships, and then there are also twin flame relationships. I don't know if I believe that everybody has a twin flame, but I can speak to the fact that soulmate relationships are normally sent to teach you something. And normally they're relationships that are not hard. They're easy relationships, right? They're relationships that where you feel like, wow, like I feel like I've known this person before. Like they're very easy relationships, and they are there to teach you a lesson. But normally they teach you a lesson in a good way. And then you have karmic relationships that are typically narcissistic. Those are our narcissistic relationships. And they are put in place to teach us something about ourselves. So a lot of times they teach us self-love, or they teach us about following our intuition, not believing illusions, trusting our spirit, using our spiritual gifts. Those are the reasons for those relationships, because a lot of times, most times, in order to get out of those relationships, like, you have to come into like a higher level of self love. You have to put boundaries in place. Like, you have to stop feeling as if you owe people something. You have to stop people pleasing. You have to put yourself first. All of those things require a deeper level of self-love that we did not have, which is the reason why we were in these narcissistic relationships in the first place. So basically, they play on our emotions. At the beginning of the relationship, everything is beautiful, it's wonderful, it's roses. They seem as if they are the best person ever, and that's called love bombing. So they come in, they love bomb us, right? And they make us just fall in love with them. They do everything right. They make us feel seen. They make us feel heard. So a lot of us that get caught up in those relationships is because we have this inner child who doesn't feel seen enough, or doesn't feel heard or appreciated or validated. So what these people do is they have the ability to come in and have these conversations with us that are very calculated, and they basically learn how to push our buttons. So they learn what it is that we're missing, what it is that we didn't have, and guess what? They proceed to give it to us, right? They give us everything we need. They love us up, and we start to trust them because we're trusting them from our inner child, right? And a child, as you know, like, a child is more innocent, right? They're more naive, they're more loving, they're more forgiving, they're more understanding. So they come in, and Born Intelligence said women are narcissistic by nature. You know what? The thing is, like, being narcissistic is a deep, deep thing. So, like, people that are narcissistic are sick. Like, if you have a narcissistic personality disorder, like, you're sick. Like, you don't it's almost like you don't have a soul. Like, they don't give a fuck. Like, everything is about them. Like, how they can prosper, how they can get ahead, how they can what am I trying to say? What's that word? Progress. Like, they don't care anything about you. And, like, first it starts off really sweet, right? And they get you tricked, and they get you all tied in, and you think that, like, they really love you, but then they change on you, right? They change, and then you spend all this time trying to get back to that lovey place. Soulless, yes, sissy, like, soulless. Like, for most of us, um, I would say the relationship, it progresses, right? So it starts off really nice, and, like, everything is good, and then it progresses, and they get progressively, slowly worse. And by the time it's over, you're just like, yo, like, this mofo would leave me in the middle of the street to die tonight and would not care. And that's the hardest thing to wrap your mind around. Like, wow, like, I really was with this person. I really thought this person loved me, but in reality, they didn't care anything about me. Like, it was always about them. And, like, that's a hard realization to, like, come to. But what it is that we do is, a lot of us, those of us that are with people that are narcissistic, normally we have a narcissistic parent, or we have narcissistic family members. So we grow up with these toxic people, toxic, and they have a toxic energy signature, right? So we grow up with these people that are toxic, and they're our family, and they become familiar, and that's what we know, right? So then when we get in relationships, we in turn, we meet people, and we don't realize they have the same toxic energy signature as our families, as our mother, as that father who didn't treat us right. They have the same toxic energy signature, right? So before we're spiritually awake, we don't always, like, we're not a good judge of yeah, somebody like Trump. Yeah, exactly, Mr. Hannibal. Yeah. So, oh, and let me tell y'all, so like Trump is a overt narcissist, right? He's just out there with his shit. Like, I don't care, I'm an asshole. So a lot of us, and probably like my sissy boos could agree, and well, I mean, we're not going to discriminate. The guys can agree too. Like, then you have the covert narcs. So they are the ones who seem like they are so fucking nice, right? Like they come in, they're so nice and sweet. Like it's the female that's like she's so nice and sweet and docile, and like you feel like you can tell her what to do and you can boss her around, and she's just she's just so nice and sweet. And that's how they start off, the covert. So they start off really sweet, and even all throughout the relationship, like it's this like I love you, I hate you relationship. So like one minute they love you and they adore you, and then like the next minute they hate you. But then when they go back to loving you, like they're so sweet, they're so tender, they'll do whatever it is that you want. So my ex, he would do whatever it is that I asked, like whatever I wanted, he would do it. But then I got to the point that I was just like, yo, you're very dutiful, as in you will do whatever it is that I asked, but like emotionally, he just became more and more withdrawn. So it's like I'm like fighting for his attention, and like this is all like some calculated bullshit. So I'm fighting for your attention, and this isn't working. So let me try harder at this shit that's not working. And like they feed off of that. Like they love that shit. Like they love to get us all emotional. Like they get us into these arguments that just go on and on and on into nowhere until your brain feels like it is like melting. It's just like oozing out of your ear. Like that's what they do to keep us like bound and stuck, right? They future fake. Future faking is whenever you make it seem like, oh yeah, I got you, I support you, I got your back, but really behind your back, like it's sabotage. Like it's silent sabotage. Yes, Glowy, it's like a fucking vampire, right? Like they never, it's like that person that never ceases to have their hand out, whether it's financially, whether it's emotionally. Like they just always need something from you. They're sick, they're sad, they're depressed. Like, so yeah, it's men and women. Like it's those women that like the chick that always has like the damsel in distress thing going on. Like if anything could go wrong, oh, it's gonna go wrong. Like female female narcissist, right? And then the female, and then yo, you're fucking crazy. Because the female narcissist, like anytime a bitch would get you arrested, if she would call the fucking police on your ass and would lie on you, like them bitches that be on the phone like, oh my god, he died. Female fucking narcissist. Them bitches like thin line between love and hate bitches. Female narcissists. So, and on Queen TV, we do not discriminate. Like, we know that like there's some men that need to get their shit together, and there's some women that need to get their shit together, right? Right. So, so yeah, you guys. So coming out of those relationships it's like the thing that is so alarming about narcissistic relationships is like it's the only relationship that I know of that like when you come out of the relationship, like literally like your brain has to heal. Like you literally have to go through like a recovery process because it may sound dramatic and I know everybody doesn't believe in it, but like if you really take the time to and I think, see, I feel like us as women, like it's easier for us to agree to it, but for a man, and I'm not knocking men or anything like that. It's hard to admit, you know, just the level of they're very manipulative, right? So sometimes it's hard to admit that a person has really manipulated you to the point that they had. You know what I mean? So like I'm not knocking the brothers, but like it's like you look around and you're like, what the fuck? Like and I'm sorry, it is 9:16. So like for anybody who don't like cursing or anything like that, like this is QueenTv After Dark and we talk about narcs, so I gotta be able to cuss a little. But like, yeah, it's a sad, sad thing because you look up and you be like, what the fuck have I been in all of this time, right? And I just, number one, I just want to encourage us, right? And I just want to remind us that we are, we learn from everything that we go through, right? So those narcissistic relationships, I'm going to go as far as saying, and this is really crazy. I didn't realize that that was being a narcissist. I'm doing, oh my God, Mr. Hill. Yeah, babe. And then too, I want y'all to go on my page. Yeah, Glowy, it goes both ways. I want y'all to go on my page and I put up a post and it talks about gaslighting. So like there's certain things that narcissists always use. They use gaslighting, they use projection, they use displacement, they use crazy making conversations. Is that it? Oh, induced conversations. Um a lot of victim mentality, a lot of like if you leave me I'll kill myself, like that was my ex, like. And the thing is why I stayed so long, so you'll notice on my post I said cognitive dissonance, right? So what had happened with me was after okay, so we were together for a total of 7 years. So the first 5 years was okay, right? I feel like relationships, you give and take, everything's not perfect. So in the first 5 years of the relationship, I started to like realize that like he dealt with depression, and I thought it was like I thought he was bipolar because it would be like 3 weeks out of the month he would be like fine and happy and everything would be good, and then like a week out of the month, he would just be like all sad and like hopeless and stuff like that. So I work in the mental health field and I was like, well, I think he's bipolar, blah, 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 right? So I have an unlimited amount because of my childhood programming. I have an unlimited amount of patience um, for people who are suffering from some type of emotional whatever, right? So that's the switch in me that made me like a victim to those types of relationships. So another thing is like once you come out of them, you start to realize like what things made you a victim to that relationship, right? So I had this undying vat of understanding and empathy for people who were dealing with depression or things like that. So because I realized that he dealt with depression, a lot of the things in the relationships where he kind of like had little shortcomings, I would kind of like overlook those things. And then in other aspects of the relationship during the first 5 years, he just seemed so loving and devoted that I felt like the good outweighed the bad, right? But then over time things got progressively worse and I just felt like I didn't have the support that I needed, emotionally, financially. Like we were just like things were going down, like our finances were stagnant, like we got evicted. And I'm just like, yo, I've been a single mom for longer than I've been married, and I've never been evicted as a fucking single mom. So like this shit is crazy. So we ended up having to move in with my sister who was in a 2 bedroom, and so it's my whole family, her family, and then my baby sister was staying there. So it was just like some bullshit, like shit that I was never ever really used to having to deal with, right? So give me 1 second. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything else. Said some people. Mr. Weaver. Okay. All right. So we're gonna take a quick pause, right? And then I'm gonna go right back into my story. Y'all got to remember where I was. I don't want to miss anything that anybody said because I want this to be interactive. So Glow said it goes both ways, right? So we said there's men and women who are narcissistic, right? So we do not discriminate on Queen TV, and we don't put ourselves down for anything that we went through, right? Because everything we've gone through makes us better. It teaches us something for us to move forward. So the reason why I'm here and I do these videos is because like I'm just like, yo, if I can help somebody get out of the cycle a little bit quicker, then like, yeah, I'm here to share a light, right? So let me see. So Mr. Weed, some people or just a lot of times don't know if you believe you're born on the evil side or to do right. The evil side just comes over you like a spirit and make you want to do the wrong thing. Ah, yeah, I mean, yeah, but so life is about the ultimate thing that we want to do in life is be able to balance out the dark and the light, right? So you want to look at it like yin and yang. So it's nothing wrong. We all have a dark side, right? It's just some of us have better control over our dark side. So you want to think of it like yin and yang. So finding that ultimate balance, like, like that's the dopest shit in life, right? So, I believe the dark side is always there. It's going to be more prevalent. So the thing that we're looking to do right now, which we talked about narcissists, and they play a big part in catapulting us into our spiritual awakening. Our spiritual awakening is what takes us into more of our divine self. We tap into our divine side. So a lot of times men, when they deal with women that are narcissistic, and like, God bless y'all, I just want everybody to learn their lesson as quick as they can and get on out. But what them bitches teach you is they teach you how divine you are, right? They teach you that, like, yo, I've settled for a bitch that ain't shit, right? Now, I'm not perfect, right? And I do my dirt, and I got some shit with me, right? I'm speaking from the male perspective. But you get to a point you realize, like, but I'm not as grimy as this bitch is. Like, this bitch is grimy. Like, she don't have no goddamn morals, and I didn't know this shit. Like, I thought this shit was gonna be different, right? So that's what happens. But it's a trick. Like, it's a trick. Because God just wants us to get to our more divine self, right? So in those situations, what happens is that, like, you look around and you be like, yo, this is some motherfucking bullshit. This is some fuckery, right? How is it that I keep choosing these same trifling bitches? I don't know why I'm cussing so much at 9:26 on a Thursday. I hope my mom don't listen to this. But anyway, how the fuck I keep end up with, they teach you a whole lot of, they teach you a whole lesson. It be a whole vibe. It be a whole vibe. Hey y'all, I was supposed to say, hey, Deaconess Cuddlefoot is in the house. I'ma come on, Letitia, Mr. Weaver. So yeah, so we going yin and yang that. They suck the life out of you. That's what they do, right? That's how you end up stuck, right? What else? I do not want to. They are what do we say? They're energy vampires. Like, they suck the life out of you. And then, and let me jump ahead a little bit. And don't realize, like, don't talk about when you realize it's time to lead a bitch. Like, or lead a nigga. Like, once you start realizing, like, what it is that you're dealing with, like, they pull out all the stops. Like, narcissists ain't shit. Like, they will suck the very life out of you, right? And then leave you there. Like, step over your body and, like, go on to their next freaking, like, victim. So the good thing is, I can say all that, but I'm totally and completely healed, right? I'm totally and completely healed. I'm good with it. I'm good with what the relationship taught me, because coming out of it, it catapulted me into something, like, phenomenal, right? So, sidebar, I just want to encourage all of you guys who have been in toxic relationships or relationships that have really, like, broken you down to, like, the very core of who it is that you were, I just want to say that that was a setup from God, right? Because when they took you down like that, you had no choice but to reach out to God, right? You had no choice but to go within. Because a lot of times what they do is they alienate us from our families, right? So like they don't, by the time it's all said and done with, you're not talking to your friends, you're not talking to your family members, like you don't even know who you are anymore. You don't know what you like, you don't know how to eat, like you don't even know. Because they keep your fucking brain like damn scrambled eggs and shit. Like I was getting in car accidents, I had brain fog, like I was forgetting to pay bills, like it was crazy. I ended up going to therapy, and when I went to therapy, my therapist taught me about putting boundaries in place because I was just giving and giving and giving and giving and giving. I was giving to him, and I was giving to the kids, and it was like I felt like nobody was there for me. Like who, like I found myself all the time like, well, who is there for me? Like who's taking care of me? And guess what? I kept giving and giving and giving, right? Because our childhood programming tells us that like for some reason we're supposed to give beyond ourselves. Like we're taught to be people pleasers versus being taught to love ourselves first and honor ourselves first and stand in our truth first, right? So then we end up with people who deny our truth, right? That's gaslighting. Whenever you stand in front of me and you tell me something or say something that I know is just like not even true. Whenever I tell you one thing and then you tell me that you felt like you took it another way, like when you misunderstand me, but at the very beginning you made me feel as if you that it was us against the world, that nobody understood me as well as you did. Nobody could take care of me as well as you can. Like they make you feel like it's like you and them against the world, and they understand you and they see you and they recognize you more than anybody ever did. And when they do that, they're catering to the little boy in us or the little girl in us that wasn't seen when we were little or wasn't validated enough whenever we were little, right? So that's how we end up bonded to them. It's a trauma bond because they bond with us at our broken points, right? They bond with us in our childhood wounds, right? And then whenever they come in and they make us feel so great and wonderful, and then they snatch it back, right? So what happens whenever you want something and it's really, really good, and then somebody snatches it back, like you want it more. So like they create this intensity for them and to be with them and to connect with them. And it's like the more that you want that, the more they pull it back. And then they pull it back and then they pull it back. And it drives you crazy. Like by the end, you're crazy. By the end of it all, you're fucking crazy. You're crazy. You get to a point where everything is about them, like how to make them happy, and then and don't bring anything up to them that they did wrong. Don't do that, because it gets to the point that every single argument ends up being about what you did to them. Why they're upset with you for you standing up for, why they're upset with you for you standing up by yourself, standing up for yourself. The bullshit. The motherfucking bullshit, right? So let me see what y'all talking about. We yinging and yanging it. Wow, I didn't realize. Yeah. Sucking the life out of you. Yup. Are you a therapist or something? You seem really knowledgeable and interesting. Know that a therapist, but I'm gifted though. Yes, Mr. Weaver. So yes, honey bunny, I am a therapist and I'm gifted. So I am I'm very knowledgeable in clinical practices, as well as the fact that I am very spiritual as well. So yeah, I always wanted God to show me where's the line between like spirituality and like mental health. So I'm very knowledgeable, and then when God started to show me hey Mr. Bush, hey, how are you? I just popped up. What is the topic about? Hey, Mr. Montgomery. So we were talking about narcissists. It's my November marks my 1 year anniversary that I have been out of a narcissistic relationship. And for those of us who have dealt with people that are narcissistic, we know that getting out of those relationships are like trying to get yourself untangled out of like a spider web, right? Because emotionally we are locked in. We're locked in due to our childhood wounds, right? And getting out of those relationships requires us to step back and see beyond the illusions that we are living in. Because a lot of times we create these illusions in the relationship and we make the relationship better than it really is. We ignore the fact that our needs are not being met and we're just catering to the needs of the other person. So we're ignoring all of those things. And then at some point we get to the point that like our physical health is failing. Mentally we're just cloudy. It's hard for us to be able to make decisions. Like I said, with me, I was getting in all types of car accidents. Like, you're feeling stressed, you're not sleeping, you're not eating, and this person is just there appearing as if they love you and they're in love with you, but like secretly they're just like sucking the blood out of you, just like a freaking vampire. So we said they're like emotional vampires. But on the flip side of it, they teach us a lot about self-love. So I want to celebrate all of those people in the room, or anybody that will watch this video on the replay. I just want to celebrate all of those who have gotten out of a narcissistic relationship or on your way out of a narcissistic relationship, because what it requires is for you to really get a good grip on your self-love. And I feel like in order to really come into true self-love, you have to get in touch with God, your creator, because only he can truly, truly remind you of who it is that you are, who it is that you were created to be. Because a lot of times, as we go through life and we deal with traumas and we deal with people that don't appreciate us and people that can't appreciate us, they can't receive what it is that we have to give, because we have such a huge capacity to be able to give, and people can't match that, right? That's disappointing. A lot of us are empathic. So, like I said earlier in the video, I explained what creates a narcissist, and they have no empathy. So who do they cater to? Those of us that are full of empathy. So a lot of us that are have dealt with narcissistic people is because you are gifted. You are gifted of God. You are very empathic. You're very giving. You're very loving. Like, that's what makes us like a magnet to them. So going forward in the future, what we want to do to basically safeguard ourselves from narcissists is you have to be very very high on self-love, right? And self-love is more than just, oh, I went to go get my nails done, I'm pampering myself. No, self-love means I put myself first. Self-love means I put myself first and I don't feel guilty. Self-love says I put me first and it's okay. Self-love means I have boundaries, right? So I'm not just going to keep giving and giving and giving and giving and giving and not getting anything back. Self-love says that I have to stop over giving and under receiving, meaning that I'm giving more in the relationship than I'm getting back. No, self-love says that, nah, this has to be an equal give and take. Self-love says, these are the things that I want in my relationship. I want a person that's loving and thoughtful. I want somebody that does X, Y, and Z. All of us have something different that we want in our relationships. And guess what? It's okay. Like, God put those desires in us. And I'm talking about pure desires. I'm not talking about anything like crazy, but like the things that we want in a mate. I wrote a list. Y'all can see my list is back there, that white paper right there. I wrote a list of everything that I wanted in my mate, right? Like, I had to tell God what I wanted. So it's like we have to know what it is that we want in our relationship so that we can bring those things into us. But the thing is this, like, we don't realize that how much we deserve. And what we do is we settle. We get in these relationships and we settle and we be like, but at least it's not like this, so I can deal with it. No, you have to go into a relationship knowing what it is that you want. Now, I'm not saying don't be flexible, but hey, shit, you got to start it off knowing at least what it is that you want. So you're not just getting any old thing like, oh well, I guess I'll take this. No, you have to know what you want so you can manifest those things into your life. I feel like everybody can have the relationship of their dream. We just have to stop settling, and in order to stop settling, we have to really tap into a deeper level of self-love. And in order to tap into a deeper level of self-love, we have to allow ourselves to be seen through the eyes of God or through the eyes of our creator, whoever it is that you believe is your higher power. Something created you, and they created you to be great. They did not create you to be marred or flawed. It didn't, like when you were created, you were perfect, right? You were perfect. And then we get here to this earth and we have these parents who may need a little help, and they raise us. And I posted a video the other day, 6 negative stories that we tell ourselves. And it's things that started when we were little, when people made us feel like, oh, we couldn't do good enough, and like you felt like you could never do anything good enough to appease your parent, right? So that creates in you this feeling of like, I'm not good enough, like I'm flawed, like I just can't get it right. And we don't realize, like, we tell ourselves these things in our heads, and that's why we choose the people that we choose. That's why at times we have something right before us that's good for us that we should choose, and but then we choose something less than, because something within us feels like, oh, I don't deserve it. But we got to really tap in to the stories that we're telling ourselves and the voices that we're listening to, because that's what's governing our decision making. And sometimes us being with those people that do not serve us is because we have some negative schema that we're following that was programmed into us whenever we were little people. When we were little and we were young and we were impressionable, we had toxic family members, we had toxic parents, right? And we had to forgive them for the fucked up shit that they did, right? So that's when it started, us forgiving people whenever we shouldn't. That's whenever it started for us to make excuses for people's bad behaviors. A lot of times it started with our families, and we're not shading no families because, hey, guess what? If we have fucked up parents, that means that they probably have fucked up parents, or they just didn't know, right? Okay, so we won't give them that. However, the shit that they did affected us and how it is that we were raised. It affected our programming, which in turn affects our decision making as adults, right? So sometimes we were taught to choose this over that. Some of us were taught to choose love. Like, love is just the best thing. Like, go with love even if you're broke. Some people were taught, life ain't about being broke. Choose the money. You got to go with the money. You got to go what makes sense. Sometimes relationships is a business deal. It's not about love. And guess what? Some of us were taught that. So it's like two different ways of thinking and viewing things, right? And it makes a big, big difference. So how many of us were imprinted with toxic ways of thinking, toxic mindsets, and imprinted to make toxic decisions, right? So that's how we end up in the relationships that we end up in. However, our relationships teach us a lesson. And when we learn those lessons, we ascend. We spiritually ascend. We get better. We do better. We glow. We grow. We heal. We step into our higher purpose. We start to decide what it is that we want to do in life. We start getting restless on our 9 to 5 jobs because we start to realize that, hey, I'm here for a greater purpose. When you take that love, self-love journey, it brings you closer to God. It takes you, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it, it takes you further away from religion, and it gets you more into your spirituality, which I feel like there's more spiritual, there's more benefits to being spiritual. There's a level of confidence that comes with believing in yourself, believing in your own discernment, whether you want to call it discernment or whether you want to call it intuition. But there is it increases your quality of life when you start to realize that I can trust myself. I can hear from God for myself. I can make good decisions, right? I can be in the presence of somebody and I can make a good decision about whether this is a good person or this is a bad person. And that's what narcissistic people teach us. They teach us how to follow our intuition. First, they teach us to doubt ourselves, right? They teach us a lot about self blame. They teach us a lot about self sabotage. They teach us a lot about questioning ourselves, right? And then when we get to the point that God is just like, all right, so enough is enough. It's time for them to get to learning this lesson because I need them to get on to the other side of their life because I have something more for them, right? I have a broader consciousness for them. Like once they break out of this bondage that they've been in because they were chained to it from their childhood. Once I break them out of this bondage, like, yo, like they're going to be so mentally free that they'll feel like they can conquer the world, right? So one thing that I am so grateful for coming out of my narcissistic relationship is the fact that I had to trust my intuition. I had to trust myself. I had to say that, you know what? I do know what I'm talking about. Like when I feel this way or I think this, I am right. Like I had to validate my reality, right? I had to go back in certain situations that they made me question who it is that I was. I had to go back to those situations and be like, you know what? I was right. You know what I mean? Like that's a part of your healing. Like coming out of a narcissistic relationship, you literally have to allow your brain to heal. Like a lot of us, like we have post-secondary trauma. We have PTSD. Being in a relationship with a person that is narcissistic will give you PTS fucking D, y'all. So it's like some of us develop social anxiety. You don't understand why all of a sudden, like, you don't want to leave the house. You just kind of want to be in the house. Like, yo, they traumatize us. Procrastination, you get stuck in this cycle of procrastination. You're not moving ahead. You're not creating. You're not being creative. You're just stuck. That's what they do. Brain fog. I had the craziest brain fog. Like, brain fog is like ADHD on like steroids. Like, it is crazy. They literally like they scramble your brain. So you have to go through a healing process. And a lot of us need to go to therapy, but when you go to therapy, make sure it's somebody who is an expert in narcissism because like if they're not going to be able to help you. So for me, God started showing me, I started feeling and I'm gonna check y'all comments in a minute. I started feeling manipulated, right? I started feeling manipulated in a relationship. I started feeling used and things like that. And I was just like, God, you know, I know that I'm trying to be understanding and patient of his condition, but like, why do I feel manipulated? Like, I shouldn't feel manipulated by a person just because they suffer from depression and things like that. So I just started to pay more attention. And then I started YouTube and stuff. And I swear for 2 months straight, y'all, I would watch YouTube videos from morning until night. I was trying to find out everything. Because at first I started researching like borderline personality disorder. That's what I thought it was. And then I started researching narcissism. And then once I started realizing, researching narcissism, then I started realizing like, oh my God, like, this is him. And when I started realizing, like, listening to the things that I was saying, and then I watched a video that was like, are you experiencing this, and this? Like, you may be experiencing like narcissistic abuse. And I'm just like, what? So, like, for months, I just researched and watched videos and videos and videos. And it's like we were still together and I was just watching how everything played out, just like they said. Like he started cheating. I was watching him on his like the Google Maps, because what they say is like once they stop being able, like, once we stop responding to them and being emotional and feeding into their bullshit, like, then they go on to find somebody else that they can get that supply from, because they need us to be emotional. They need to scramble our brains. They need to, like, try to get us in these arguments that go on and on and on. And by the time the argument is over, you're just like, what the fuck? Like, what was that? What were we talking about? I don't even know. I forgot. I think I started off because of something that you did to me, but now I can't fucking remember. I don't remember. They will have you crazy. And then they will do stuff that make you lash out and act real crazy. Like me, I was in here like dumping hot wax on niggas and shit. They make you lash out, and then they step back and they get real reserved and like quiet. And they make you feel like you're the crazy one. Like, yo, it's some sick shit. It's some sick shit, right? So, anywho, so yeah, so basically, them motherfuckers is they're textbook. They are textbook. They all do the same shit. And what makes us stay has to do with our childhood programming. In a nutshell. Right. Mr. Hill, you're so right. So now that we've healed, we have to heal others. Yes, that's exactly right. That's why we on here talking about it. Now, I said I wanted to be a narc recovery coach, but then I met the love of my life. And then I was like, okay, I don't want to talk about narcs all day. However, I am well versed. I am like a goddamn expert. But I just don't want to talk about it all day long. However, I am well equipped to help somebody pull themselves out of the snare, because this is serious. Like, it will take you to the point of suicide. Like, I'm sure all of us that have been, maybe some of us, but a lot of us, like, you literally, they make you feel so alone. Oh, let's not forget the smear campaign. Right? The smear campaign is when they run and they tell everybody in town all your business, your family, your friends. They want to make you look bad. That's the smear campaign. Like, anybody that has ears to listen, they must be mastermind kind of people. Yeah, it is. It's really scary. Like, to have a mastermind and no soul. Like, that's the scariest fucking thing you ever want to come in a combination with. But yeah, because my husband, I'm just like, yo, I just want you to go to therapy because, like, dude, like, you're depressed. He wanted to act like he was fine, like you going in a hospital and all of this kind of stuff, and 1 minute you about to kill yourself, and then the next minute, like, you're fine. So the whole relationship, I'm trying to get you to get help, because I'm like, yo, I love you. We're such a great pair. Like, we're so fun. Like, I love you so much. You love me so much. There isn't anything that you wouldn't do for me. But I need you to go to therapy because your depression affects the relationship. But that was just the crutch. So because I was so understanding of the depression, he just used that. So he was always depressed. Like, it got worse. So, like, whereas, remember I said it was like 3 weeks good, 1 week bad. Now it flip-flopped. 3 weeks bad, 1 week good. Like, it was just crazy. So you get to the point that you're just like, I just want to be, like, I was like, I just want to be a wife. I just want to be your fucking wife. I don't want to be your nurse. I don't want to be your therapist. I just want to be your wife. Because at some point, they get to the point where you feel like I felt like I had another child. Like, it was crazy. So it's like, you're not getting emotionally fulfilled. At some point, oh, Stefan. Hey, Mr. Perez. Yeah, you're not getting emotionally fulfilled. And then at some point, you're not getting physically fulfilled. Like, let me tell y'all, your girl was losing all this weight. I was looking all cute. I was feeling all great. And it was like, the more I lost weight and the more I wanted him to be, like, excited. Because when we got together, I was, like, thick. But, like, I hadn't been thick all my life. So I'm like, you know, like, I'm losing weight. I'm getting all shapely. I'm all cute. I'm excited because I'm feeling like, you know, I want to be a gift to him or whatever. Like, I know that men want you to appreciate your body and all of that kind of stuff. But I'm sure a man can appreciate a nice, curvy, you know, woman. So I had my little waist beads. I was so excited. It was like, the more I lost weight, the more I had time for him because the kids were getting older and I had time to put into him. It was like he lost interest. So now you being sick and being depressed turns into like, now we're not speaking. So like now we're not speaking for a day. And then a day turns into 2 days. And as time goes on, like that turns into 6 days, 7 days. So it was crazy. So I got to the point that I'm just like, okay, I always worked 2 jobs. I always was in grad school. So it was like I would just keep myself busy. But after a while, like once that money situation, like once you start needing my money and lying about stuff like that, it was almost like that was like the wake up call. I was just like, hold on now. See, now this is getting a little crazy. And it's like I'm coming to you like as your woman and I'm being vulnerable and I'm letting you know what it is that I need and how it is that you can help me. But yet it keeps turning around and everything always ends up being about you. What? And then because we're primed whenever we were little to be people pleasers and to take on other people's problems and to justify other people's behaviors, what did I do? I tried harder, right? Of course I did. I tried harder at that thing that wasn't working. So eventually we went to therapy. Eventually I did get him into therapy. He wouldn't go for himself, but he agreed to go to couples therapy. But couples therapy, unfortunately, I'm a very big proponent on therapy, obviously, because I am a therapist. But it just triggered me more, right? Because I'm pouring out my heart. And it's like the therapist didn't have anything to give, like no understanding. And that's why I said, if you guys go to therapy, make sure you go to somebody who is a specialist in narcissists, right? Because like this guy, like I realized after I started studying narcissism, I'm like, yo, this nigga was textbook. So, the mental health provider wasn't well versed enough on what it was that I was dealing with to even help. So it was just like I would pour my heart out at therapy and I would just feel more triggered because it was like it was nothing to make me feel better. Like it was he was like, all right, so go home. And I don't know what it was. Like it was like some little dumb exercise, and I'm big on exercise, and then I'm big on family therapy and couples therapy and things like that. But it was just like, yo, I'm telling you that like I'm up here doing a whole burlesque show, swinging from the chandeliers, and this nigga still won't give me no dick. Like and you send us home to do like some little foo-foo exercise. I'm just like, ask this nigga why he don't want to fuck. That's what I want to know. So, needless to say, I found this therapy was more triggering because it was just like we would leave and it was like I had all these open wounds. I had opened all this stuff up, but it was like no resolve, right? So, eventually I just got to the point that I was just like, you know what? Let's just take a break. Let's just take a break. I'm gonna sleep up here. You sleep down there. Like, let's just take a break until we go back to like therapy. Like, I got to the point that I didn't even want to talk anymore. I didn't want to try to discuss anything anymore because everything turned into why he was upset with me for being upset with him. And none of my needs were being met. None of my needs were being taken into consideration. It was just, I feel like God allows stuff to, they normally do turn, and that's the thing, Stephon, they normally do turn down the therapy. Like, I was with my husband for, by the end, it was 7 years, which 7 years represents completion. So it was over! So anyway, so yeah, so for the longest, he would turn down the therapy. Like, I was like, so then he was like, I don't have insurance. So I'm like, well, all you need to do. So then I ended up finding out how to get him insurance. And then it was just always an excuse as to why you didn't fax the paper. It was just always something, right? So cognitive dissonance. Y'all hear me talk about that. The cognitive dissonance is when they are not doing what it is that they need to do, but yet we keep finding this reason to justify this behavior over and over again. That's cognitive dissonance. That I learned that's what keeps us stuck, because we keep making excuses in our head like, oh, where mine was, um, oh, he has a mental health issue, da 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 da, like he suffers from depression. So no, I can work 2 jobs and he worked 1 job because, he's having a hard time, and just wanting to be like that supportive um wife. And I was very big on like partnerships, like let's start a business together, like let's do this together. Like I always wanted to do like everything together, but it was like when I would be excited about it, this is another thing. Like when you get really excited about stuff and you bring it to them and it's just like, yeah, that creates self-doubt. And that creates more procrastination. So a lot of us, we realize like, man, I got all of these projects. I haven't gotten anything done. Or damn, like my finances is all fucked up, because they always have some way of getting you like caught up in like some financial windfall. Like with me and my husband, it would be like, all right, so we're going to do X, Y, and Z. So we're going to need $3,000 in order to do such and such. I'm going to come in with my half. I'm going to need you to have your half. Like, and then it's like, they always fall short, and it's always some reason why, or some excuse, or like, life is always happening to them. It's crazy, and you just get caught up in like trying to make it better. And really what our brain is fighting to do is get back to how it was whenever they were love bombing us. So that's what makes us stay, because mentally our brain wants to feel good. It wants to remember the good times. It wants to remember the good things. So we're always psychologically fighting to get back to whenever everything was good, because when it was good, it was so good. So we're just fighting to get back to when it was good. That's the cognitive dissonance. And then thank you, Miss Jones. Are y'all still friends, or is just by just asking? So Mr. Weaver, hell no, we won't go. What if they turn down? Okay, hell no, we won't go. No, 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 no. There is no being friends with a narcissist after it is over. No. Narcissist, a number one rule in order for you to get free from those motherfuckers. And like I said, I'm sorry, this is QueenTv After Dark. There can be no communication. Like after it's over, like just like, and a lot of times, like narcissists, they ghost you, right? That's when they just leave with no explanation. They ghost you. So it's almost like you have to starve them of, like, because you have to remember, like, you're their energy source, right? So every time you argue with them, every time, yes, Buki, yes, my yes, Buki, she said no contact, yeah. Every time you argue with them, every time they get you caught up in a cycle of making you explain yourself, like they make us feel like we're empowered, but we're not. It's a joke. It's a joke. Like it's a farce. It's like they make us feel empowered as they disempower us, right? They are the wait, what is it? They are the predator that plays as if they are the prey. That shit is deep. Like how you look like you the victim, but yo, you the killer. Like, yo, these motherfuckers, they will be poisoning your food, and as you're sitting up there saying, "Oh my God, I'm sick," they'll be like, "Oh, let me call you an ambulance." What? Yeah. So, Mr. Perez, don't trust. But also on the flip side, what I'm saying is, so yeah, so definitely with narcissistic relationships, it has to be no contact, right? For a couple reasons. One, you want to starve them of your supply. Anything that you give them, they don't care if it's negative or positive. It's like it's narcissistic supply. So you're feeding them in a sense, right? So no contact is like starving them to death, right? So you got to go no contact because you got to starve their asses, right? And then the other reason too is like they play such a psychological game with you, that to protect yourself, like even when you come to realize their tactics, because you eventually you get to the point in the process that you start to realize like that was abuse. and you start to call abuse, right? You start to really look at it like, yo, I don't care who I thought they were. Like, this is who the fuck they are. And I need to figure out my escape plan. Like, because also narcissists are the stalkerish, they are the most stalkingest people you are ever gonna want to deal with. So when you watch those movies and the person is stalking a bitch, that nigga is a narcissist. They stalk. They break into your social media. They go into your phone. So if you got bitches, they go, I don't know why I'm talking about bitches tonight. But anyway, you got bitches and niggas that's going through your phone, breaking into your Facebook. That's why she will never cook for me. You better say that's right, Mr. Perez, because let me tell you something else. So on a spiritual note, like when we want to talk about the spiritual aspect of it, right? Because these people are narcissistic, right? We said there's 3 types of relationships. You got soulmate relationships, you got karmic relationships or karmic soulmates, and then you also have twin flame relationships, right? So your karmic relationships are there to help you live out your karma, right? So they're there to teach you a lesson about something, right? And that's my mommy. So they are there to teach you something. You could have died, but God. Exactly. I definitely could have died, but God. Definitely. And I found out everybody I dealt with. Like, once I realized that my husband of 7 years was a narcissist, then I looked back over my life and I realized everybody I dated was a narcissist. So at first I dated covert narcs because I like the bad boys, right? So first I dated covert narcs. And then I thought that, you know what, I'm going to change my life and I'm going to be mature and I'm going to do better and I'm going to pick better. So guess what I started doing, y'all? I started picking the covert narcs because they come off like nice guys. But ultimately, you have to heal your inner child. Until you heal your inner child, until you heal that thing, and we could talk about that more like as time goes on, if y'all want to, if y'all want to continue the conversation, we definitely can. But there's something within you, basically, in a nutshell, there's something within you that was seeded into you from your childhood that makes you a victim to narcissistic people. Because the thing is this, a lot of times we don't even realize, we think that we're getting a different person. We're like, oh, they're so nice, they're so different. And then what do? We find out they're exactly the same. Reason being, we're attracted to energy signatures. So if our family and our parents were toxic, then we turn around and we're attracted to toxic people. Why? It feels familiar, right? So they were toxic. However, that's what we grew up in. That's what we know. That's what's familiar. So because it's familiar, you can meet a chick or you can meet a guy and you think, oh my God, he's such a nice guy. And it's something about your spirit or your energy or whatever it is that you want to call it that makes you just like, oh my God, I'm so attracted to them. Like, it's just this magnetism. Like, I just don't know, like what it is about them. Like, I just really, really, like, I'm really into them. And a lot of times what it is we've attracted that same energy signature. So it's like we have to heal from the inside out. And once you start to heal, you will make better choices. Because it's almost like your eyes become open and you realize, like, okay, so these are the places that I was broken. Got it. This is why. This is who did it. Got it. I'm not mad, right? Because we're not mad. We just need to get down to the bottom of the shit, right? So whether it was our parents, whether it was our family, whatever the case may be, we just want to look at it for what it is. We're going to look at it for what it is so that we can heal. We're not mad at nobody, but we're going to be honest and we're going to stand in our truth, right? And we're going to call a spade and we're going to call abuse, right? Right. But the biggest thing is we're not worried about holding people to what it was that they did. We're not worried about holding them to what it was that they did. However, we're going to stand in our truth. And if it happened, it motherfucking happened. And if you said, what happens in this house stays in this house and all that other shit, and y'all allow all types of shit, abuse, sexual abuse, child abuse, talking bad, talking toxic, tearing people down, not allowing people to feel empowered as the person that they was, all of those things, that shit happened, right? So, the shit happened. We gonna let people go because forgiveness is for who? It's for us, right? Because to hold on to all that anger, who's it hurting? Us. It's not hurting them. They could give a fuck less. They don't care. They don't care. It's hurting us because we're holding on to all the pain. We're holding on to what they did, right? We're holding on to all of those negative stories that we tell ourselves according to what it was that they did. Because when we were little and we were being formulated, we as little people, we had to come to our own rationales, right? So imagine, you at 6 versus you at 30, you're going to rationalize things differently. But there's a lot of things in life that we've rationalized from a child perspective. And then now we're adults and we're still living our lives through that perspective. So we got to heal the inner child, right? We got to get back to whatever it is that made us susceptible to the bullshit, right? And once we heal that, our energy signatures change, our frequencies change, our vibrations change, meaning we stop attracting toxic people. If you're still attracting people that are toxic, we're not beating ourselves up, but that's when we want to step back and be like, okay, so what part of me still needs to be healed because I'm still attracting the bullshit, right? But then after a while, you get to the point where you can sniff a narcissist out. Like you could tell the first conversation, first couple text messages, you like, no, I recognize this, right, Mr. Perez? You're going to be like, next chick, you're going to be like, I've seen this before. And what you learn coming out of that narcissistic relationship is, guess what? I can trust myself. I can trust my intuition. I can trust that little small voice that doesn't scream, is very small, that tells me right or wrong. I can trust that. And if I can trust that, I can trust myself. And I can make the best decision for myself. I don't have to worry about who's going to screw me over, who's going to do me wrong. Why? Because when I got done with that motherfucker, whether it be a female or a man, they put me through the ringer. So like, I learned what it is that I needed to learn, right? And then not only that, coming out of those relationships, it requires us to get closer to God. So you start to realize that like, yeah, God's on my side. Like he's not going to let me fall. He's not going to let me fail. Like all I got to do is make sure I'm checking in with him. I'm listening to my intuition. I'm listening to when something's not right. Because a lot of times when we look back on those relationships, there were times throughout that we could have said, oh, damn, I ain't pay attention to that, or I ain't pay attention to that. Now we're not beating ourselves up, right? We're not beating ourselves up because I also feel like sometimes we didn't recognize it back then because it wasn't meant. It wasn't meant for us to recognize it at that time. We had to go through everything we went through. And then when we started to recognize it and the red flag started coming, that's because at that point, God was like, all right, so I need you to go ahead and learn this lesson because like I got your queen out here and you got to get ready. So let me teach you whatever it is that I need to teach you in this relationship. And then let me heal you from the inside out. Let me heal the little person in you. Let me heal your inner child so that you can start to make better decisions. So you can make decisions that are based on your highest good and what it is that you deserve. Because you no longer feel like I'm marred. Because that's a negative story we tell ourselves. I'm marred. That makes us feel like we're not good enough. So sometimes we meet really great people and we don't go after the relationship because we feel like I'm not good enough to be with them because I'm marred. Like something's wrong with me. I don't deserve, right? That comes from childhood programming. Or if we feel like I have to be dependent on this person, that's another negative story we tell ourselves, that I have to be dependent. So you feel like you need this person in order to feel strong, in order to feel empowered, in order to accomplish what it is that you need in life. Negative programming from childhood. Like your mom may have taught you that, man, made you feel like, oh, I'm just not good enough, or oh, I'm just not strong enough. I'm not strong enough to do it, right? And that's a lot of times another reason why we end up caught in these relationships. Narcissistic relationships are a codependent person, which is a person that feels like they need to be in a relationship. The relationships validate who they are. We were raised as to be like very much people pleasers. We were raised to be like put other people's needs above our own. And the sad thing is, and I'm not, the Bible says honor your mother and your father so your days will be long upon the earth, right? So we not dissing nobody's parents, and we honor our parents. However, as children, we were shaped, and those were the people that shaped us, right? So that's where a lot of our programming started. However, as we become older and we start to look, there are ways to reprogram our thinking, right? There's ways to re-look at a situation in a way that's going to allow us to feel more healed, more peace, less splintered, less in a million, different places. So there's still healing from that. But we have to first step back and be like, okay, so how was I shaped? Like, what is my programming? My programming determines the decisions that I make. Am I making healthy decisions? If I'm not making healthy decisions, then that means my programming isn't healthy. So now I need to work on, and be open to taking on different schools of thought, taking on looking at life a different way, realizing that I can't keep doing the same thing and expect something different. Like if I keep doing the same thing, I'm going to get the same thing. If I keep doing the same thing to get a man or a woman, I'm going to keep getting the same type of man or woman. But when I step back and do things differently, when I step back and I'm coming from a more healed place, a more secure place, then all my childhood wounds are not blazing open, bleeding and oozing for people that are predators or for people that are mentally manipulative to kind of like grab hold to like my weaker, the weaker parts of me. And then it makes it, if you don't heal properly, it makes it hard for you to move on to another relationship, because a lot of times they they validate our self-fulfilling prophecy, whether it's men ain't shit, women ain't shit, da, 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 da. Like they validate those negative things within us. So that doesn't help either. You know what I mean? That's another reason why we stay stuck, because it's just like, this is what I've always believed, and they just keep proving me right, even though my rightness is something negative. That's another reason why we stay stuck. However, when we get the strength and we come out of those relationships, we definitely transcend to a higher level of spiritual awakening. We have a higher level of consciousness, because I feel like just getting in touch with God and becoming more in tune with your spirit, because that's what it's going to require in order for you to really tap into your discernment and your intuition, and to really be able to trust yourself. It's going to require that. And I'm going to encourage you guys to be patient with yourselves. Like, coming out of a narcissistic relationship, even though it may be hard to admit, especially for men, but maybe not, because my tribe is so transparent. And I really appreciate you guys for your honesty and all the things that you share with me. I really do appreciate that. And I do not take it for granted, because it requires a level of humbling to admit to some of the things that these people do to us, because they pull out the stops. Like there's nothing too low down for them to do. Like they say, like, you ain't been cheated on until you get cheated on by a narcissistic person. Like their toxicity is like on another level. So yeah. So sometimes it's really hard to admit everything that you've been through, and coming out of the relationship, A lot of times you feel very alone, you feel very isolated, very, very, very alone, because they really play on our loneliness wounds. If any of us as children suffered from loneliness or chronic loneliness or anything like that, it's very, 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 very hard to get out of a relationship with a narcissistic person, because it pulls on your chronic loneliness wound. So even though you know that you shouldn't be with that person, you find yourself, getting back with that person. So the biggest thing to getting out of those relationships is just healing from a lot of your childhood wounds, and just really stepping into like a higher level of self-love, which will require um, the healing of our childhood wounds, because a lot of times um, our childhood shaped us, and who it is that we are and how it is that we view ourselves is through the eyes of our childhood. And sometimes those things are not the best. You know what I mean? Like, we weren't raised to believe that we were awesome and amazing and we could do whatever it is that we put our minds to, and we are strong and we're able and we're capable. A lot of times those things were instilled in us, the things that were instilled in us was for, us to make excuses for other people that 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 don't step up to the plate, like make excuses for people who have disappointed us, like make excuses and justifications for people that didn't meet us where they should have, people that didn't protect us like they should have. A lot of people, we've experienced abuse of many different kinds, whether it's verbal abuse, whether it's physical abuse, whether it's sexual abuse. And the reality is, there should have been somebody there to protect us, and there wasn't. So there's a lot, like everything that you are, everything that you were shaped into and created to be, it started in your childhood. So we have to be honest um, with that, and we have to be honest about what's going on within us. And even if we don't place blame on someone and say, oh, it was this person or that person, or whatever the case may be, the most important thing is to deal with whatever. Like, when you identify that there's some type of hurt, like if you identify with feeling like you have an abandonment issues. Like, a lot of times we joke around and be like, oh, I got abandonment issues, I got this and I got that. But if we're identifying that those things are within us, regardless to how they came to be, we have to heal from those things. And as we begin to heal from those things, we become stronger, and we can put boundaries in place, and we can stand in our truth. And as we do that, we begin to ascend. And those people that try to manipulate us by being very low vibrational, manipulate, manipulating us, lying, mind games, gaslighting, all of that kind of stuff is low vibrational. So once you start to heal, you start to vibrate at a different frequency. So that bullshit that used to get to you, like that bullshit that used to entangle you before, like, yeah, nah, it doesn't have the same power, right? Because you're like at a different level, like you're vibrating at a different frequency. So if y'all realize that, like, all of a sudden, like, my friends ain't my friends no more. Like, the people I used to hang out with, like, don't nobody bang with me like that, baby. That's because you're ascending, and they can't go where you go. Like, negative, low vibe spirits, like, they can only vibrate at a frequency that's so high. So once you get so high, like, they can't even get to you. They can't even get to you. So, like, after a while, those of us that have been with narcissists, like, once you come out of the relationship too, like, your eyes are going to be open. Like, you're going to start to see narcissists everywhere. It's going to be like putting on infrared glasses, and now you see all the vampires. And that can be a little bit depressing, right? But it's different phases and stages. And then you get to where I am, which is like a place of like total surrender to God. Complete healing. Like, there's things that I still need to work on. Like, there's stuff that triggers me, and when triggers come up, I have to go within and, just learning how to heal, learning how to reprogram your thoughts, like view things in a different way, not having a pessimistic mindset that niggas ain't shit and bitches ain't shit, and you know it's always going to be this way, and I can't be happy, and nobody's ever going to completely fulfill you in a relationship, and nobody out here has everything that you need. Like, all of that is low vibrational. Like, God created us to be happy, right? And he said it's not good for man to be alone. So that means God is pro relationships, right? So I feel like we were here to this is, you know, a little bit more on my spiritual side, but I feel that we were here to you know, deal with our karma, you know, past life karma. And those unfortunately, those narcissistic people and those karmic relationships are the catalyst that we need to, you know, heal the karma of our past, heal our childhood wounds, and just step into a more empowered version of ourselves, a more divine version of ourselves. Because, you know, as we heal, we get closer to God. As we get closer to God, we become more divine. So yeah, so that's all I got for you guys. I just want to say I love y'all over there. I love you guys. I want to encourage you guys. Anybody who is attempting to get out of a narcissistic relationship, I want to encourage you to utilize resources. Um, YouTube is great if you don't want to go to therapy. YouTube has a wealth of information. Getting away from a narcissistic person, let me be very, very clear. You're definitely going to have to be calculated. It's not easy. It's very doable, but it's not easy, right? Because, like I said, it's certain things they play on, certain strings that they pull. You have to have a level of strength because mentally, you know, whether we want to believe it or not, mentally, they're playing a lot of mind games on us. What I'm learning now, which is new information to me, a lot of these women utilize black magic. I don't know. I don't think black men are out here putting black magic, but I'm starting to realize a lot of these women are utilizing black magic. So if you guys are dealing with somebody that is toxic, to all my brothers, now I don't feel like men are out here. I don't feel like men are out here poisoning women and doing black magic on women. However, I do feel like there are women that are utilizing those tactics because they want to keep people stuck. They don't want to see you do good. Like said, those are the women that call the police on you. Those are the women that lie and say, you know, he raped me, or like those women are narcissistic. Those are like, yeah, and they're dangerous. I just want to reiterate, these people are dangerous, and not to sound dramatic or anything like that, but the reality is they are. Like, anybody who wouldn't care if you died, and they would use you up until, like, physically or mentally you just lose it all. That is a dangerous person. So I want to encourage you guys to pay attention to the red flags. Reach out for help. There's people like me. There's mental health professionals. Utilize your insurance, EAP. If you don't have no mental health um, benefits, sometimes if you work at a job and they have an EAP department, you can go to therapy. You can get like 3 to 6 sessions with EAP. Like I said, make sure that whoever you go to, make sure they are an expert on narcissism, because you really want somebody that um, knows their stuff with that, because those people are like master manipulators. And I feel like even mental health professionals, if you have not taken the time to really um, understand who they are, like, even they don't know. Like, I'm a nerd. Like, I want to sit home and watch YouTube videos from morning till night and all that kind of stuff. So that is why I know, you know, what it is that I know. But unfortunately, I always tell everybody, pray before you get ready to go to therapy or anything like that. Pray. to whoever it is that you pray to, and ask God to lead you to the right person. Because I feel like there's nothing more disappointing than to already be broken and to need help and to go sit down and pour your heart out to somebody and they not be able to give you the help that you need. So I want you to stay encouraged, because there are good mental health professionals. Pray about it so that God will connect you to the person that you need to be connected to. Reach out for help. They will isolate you from your family and things like that. So reach out for help. Stay connected to your family. Reach out to your people. Utilize YouTube. Utilize myself, but I'm probably going to point you to other resources, unless you feel as though you have the strength to get out of the relationship by just, having somebody there to say, hey, this is what you need to do. Hey, I understand what it is that you're going through. But it has to be very, very calculated, because like I said, they're very, very manipulative. And it's not that they're so powerful and that you're so weak. Please understand that. It's not that not that they're so powerful and you're so weak. It's just that they know how to play on the things that make us vulnerable. Okay? So if y'all can remember that, they've learned how to be masters at playing on things in people that make them feel vulnerable. Even the most non-vulnerable person, right? Even the toughest tough guy. These women, they have a way of knowing, and this is not all women, because all women are not master manipulators, okay? All women are not clinical. All women are not certifiable or institutionalizable, right? However, some of us are attracted to those women because we probably had a lot of those women in our family, in our adult, our aunties and our cousins and our moms and stuff like that. So because it's familiar to us, that is why it makes it easy for us to attach to those same types of people. Okay. So that's the understanding of it. We're not going to beat ourselves up, right? We're just going to understand, like, oh, wow, we had an aha moment, right? So we're not going to beat ourselves up, because we're here to learn lessons, and we can't learn lessons in life if we don't go through anything, right? So we're here to go through things, to learn lessons, to make us better, to help somebody else, and then learn lessons so that we make better decisions, so we can get to a more abundant life that's going to make us happy. All right. So I love you guys very much. Mr. Perez, you are not cursed. You are not cursed, Mr. Perez. You probably just, you just gotta heal your energy signature. You're probably just attracting, you know what I mean? Like I said, you're attracting what is familiar. And we're not gonna beat ourselves up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we was little people. If we was raised in it, if it's familiar to us, if we know it, then hey, it is what it is. At this point, we make the changes that we need to make so we can have our best life, right? I know all of us, we want to live the rest of our years like the best of our years, right? So that life is here for you. It is available. But it's gonna require that we heal, right? And it's okay. Shit happens. Shit happens. It hurts. But all of us were sent here with a purpose. All of us were sent here with a purpose. We are not marred. We are not scarred. We are not damaged goods. When God created man, he stepped back and he said, it is good, right? So you are God's creation. I will end with this. You are God's creation. When he created you, he stepped back and he said, it is good. It is good. So you are good. You are blessed. You are abundant. You were created to make a difference in this world, whatever that looks like, whether it's just being a really great parent, whether it's being a football player, an athlete, an artist, a musician, a teacher, a preacher, an attorney, whatever it is that you were created to be. And you'll know that according to the things that are within you that is predominant. The things that you love to do, the things that you're passionate about, the things that make you smile, the things that thing that makes you wake up in the morning and like get your day started. You know what I mean? And sometimes it may be as small as like, I'm a mom and I'm gonna be the best freaking mom that um on this side of the earth, right? On this side of heaven, I should say. So yeah, so God stepped back when he created you. God stepped back and he said it was good, right? So if he said it was good, you deserve everything that is good in life for you. And it doesn't matter what mistakes you made, right? And it doesn't matter who mishandled you. It doesn't matter who didn't do what they were supposed to do. It doesn't matter, because when God created you, he stepped back and he said it was good, right? So with that, I want you to remember that, and I want everybody to get back to that level of thinking and that level of self-love that says that I am fearfully and wonderfully made, and I am here on this earth to make a difference, and I do have a purpose, and I do deserve everything that is good in life, because regardless to whatever mistakes that I have made in the past, my past does not define me. My mistakes do not define who it is that I am. Hey, I made mistakes and I'm bigger than those and I can get beyond those, right? Any hurts that we've experienced in the past, in our present, currently, right? We have the ability to heal that, right? We have access to heal from the things that we've been through. And that's what makes us a well-rounded, happy person. So we should always be seeking out our healing, right? Our ultimate healing is not about holding a grudge against this one, that one, who ain't shit, and all that kind of stuff. We don't care about none of that. We want to learn our lessons in life. We want to learn what it is that we needed to learn when we went through the bullshit, right? We want to learn what it is that we need to learn so we can go on with our lives with wisdom, because wisdom is experience that's not attached to emotions, right? So wisdom says that, yeah, I can sniff out a narc. Sniff them out, right? But I'm not tied to the pain anymore. I'm not mad. I'm not upset. I trust myself to be able to trust whoever it is that I come in contact with. If they're a good person, I'm going to know that they're a good person. And if they ain't shit, I'm going to know that they ain't shit. And it's not going to take that long, right? So I learned to trust myself, and I learned to call in everything for my highest good, because when God made me, he said that it was good. So everything for my highest good is what I want to call in. Everything for your highest good is what I want you guys to call in, whether it's your relationships, with your romantic relationships, whether it's your family relationships, right? Because even with our family relationships, family isn't perfect, but you get to a point where you're just like, hey, I'm going to deal with them according to who it is that they are. They not going to hurt my feelings. They not going to put me down. I'm going to come to this family get together. Nobody's going to make me feel less than. Like, you start walking in a level of empowerment, and you start requiring respect, right? Because you start realizing, y'all got me talking. I'm trying to close. Because you start realizing that everything that you went through made you who you are. And you're the shit, right? And ain't nobody going to make you feel bad about yourself. And ain't nobody going to make you feel like you deserve anything less than the absolute best in life. So I want to encourage my brothers and my sisters, whoever it is that you're looking for, whatever type it is, whatever type of person it is that you are looking for to spend your life with, they're out there, right? And then also too, everybody is not looking for somebody right now at this point in their life. They're okay with being by themselves. However, as long as you're by yourself because you feel like I need time, but I need time to try and charge my phone. I need time to just heal from my past, then that's good. But I don't want nobody out here saying I ain't getting in a relationship because niggas ain't shit and bitches ain't shit. Nah, because we got to learn from our lessons. And if we still talking like that, then we still need to go through some levels of healing. And healing is for us, not for them. Forgiveness is for us, not for them. Healing and forgiveness is to get us to a place that we feel great about us. And we feel great about like whatever happened, it happened. And hey, it is what it is. I learned from that experience and now I'm moving on to bigger and better things. And that's how we want to think about it. And that's how we want to live our lives. And I love you guys so very, very much. Thank you for letting me share my story. Well, thanks to you. Were great tonight. I learned a lot tonight and I got the woman side of you. Yes. So I love you guys so very, very much. If you like what I had to say, share the video. It's 1 hour and 33 minutes and 33 seconds. So 33 and 333 is my angel number. So like, yeah, so that's significant to me. So I love you guys so very, very much. I will be back soon. If y'all have any questions, feel free to drop them here. I check my comments. So the way my inbox is set up, so my inbox is a little special because it's a little bit busy, but I'm gonna have to find a way to still be able to connect with you guys if you need information. If you need information. So anyway, I love you guys. I will be back soon. I think we're gonna talk a little bit more about inner child, outer child. I don't know, but I love y'all. And I will talk to y'all soon. Thanks for coming to hang out with me. And I will talk to you wonderful, beautiful, amazing, blessed people very, very